Good morning, I'm Larry Steinhouse, and welcome to Money Chat Now. Money Chat Now is a politically charged stock market pre-show giving you the politics behind the biggest moves in the stock market. It is presented with comedic common sense by an expert in financial literacy, and hey, that's me, Larry Steinhouse. Today is Tuesday, May 31st, and I want to welcome you to the show. We are here live on WWDB Radio 860 AM in Philadelphia, and we are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Hey, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Truth Social, TikTok, and all those other social media sites by searching Larry Steinhouse. I want to let you know that today is Interview Tuesday. For our online audience, each Tuesday we plan to bring you great interviews with interesting people and introduce you to their products, their services, or just their good intentions. Hey, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. That's thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. Let me know why you want to be interviewed, and we'll see if we can make that happen. Today we have Nurse Jack, who will bring you some amazing stories that happened to him during his life as a nurse. Hey, I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy this interview. You definitely want to hang out for that. All right, just a reminder, if you're watching online, hit that like button, hit that share button, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Money Chat Now page on Facebook. You can also comment live during the show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and please say hi so I know you're watching. A couple of people saying hi right now is Glenn and Joe. Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks so much. By the way, if you're commenting from a group and it's not the Money Chat Now fan page, your name may not show up on my dashboard, so please go to the Money Chat Now page, comment there, and that way I can recognize you. Money Chat Now is brought to you by Investor Schooling, and you can attend a complimentary class this Thursday by going to investorschooling.com, and there you will learn about real estate investing, stock options trading from those who do it every day. All right, on today's show, of course, we're going to be discussing the futures update. We're going to be talking about Biden's alternate reality. We're going to be talking about Musk versus AOC. This is hysterical, actually. We're going to be talking about student loan forgiveness once again. All right, let's talk about the futures and see what's going on. Hey, real quick, a couple of people have joined us, Peter and Tommy and Mick and Linda. Thanks, Linda. My wife, she's so wonderful. All right, I want to talk about last week. It was a perfect week. The Dow closed up Friday 575 points, and it was up over 1,500 points for the week. Fantastic, but remember, my predicted range for the Dow was peaking at around 33,000, and we are currently right above that number, and that means proceed with caution. The big winners on Friday were Ulta and Moderna. Ulta, the beauty company, had great earnings report and guidance report. It actually makes sense because people are actually doing stuff again, and they want to look good. You know, they're no longer hiding behind masks, so makeup and beauty items are becoming important again. Moderna is benefiting from the media hype of anything that makes someone sneeze, like monkeypox. Moderna is currently working on the monkeypox vaccine, of course, because the 100 people who contracted it might infect 7 more people. So look out for the government's monkey business to become your business by making you get a monkeypox vaccine. I swear, I really want a vaccine against Democrats. It's insane. Of course, Moderna's stock needs to go up because Paul Pelosi, the witch Nancy's husband, will need it for his bail money and attorney fees for drunk driving. Oh, you didn't know that he was arrested for drunk driving? Well, I'm surprised he isn't drunk more often, being married to that witch. Anyway, Moderna's stock rose on monkeypox vaccine promises. I wonder if they will promise that this one will work. We also had a report that the Fed Governor Chris Waller said to expect more rate increases than expected. In short, he said to expect the prime rate to be around 4.5%. Now, just so you guys understand, if the prime rate's around 4.5%, that usually translates into a mortgage amount of about 3% more. So look for 7 to 8% mortgage rates coming to a bank near you very soon. Look, although it stinks, I'm going to say that it's probably going to be the new normal. It still astonishes me, of course, that rates were so low for so long. Like every boomer, I can tell you stories about how when I got my first mortgage, it was 13% and I thought it was cheap. How times have changed. Anyway, Waller also said that he believes the next rate increase will be 50 basis points, and the next one will probably even be the same. So as I've said before, they need to slow the increases down. You can't make up for several years of a mistake by raising the rates all at once. It's like someone who they're 100 pounds overweight and they want to lose 100 pounds in 3 weeks. It's just not going to happen. So they've got this mess on their hands. Raising rates also has a lag. It takes time before the effect takes place. The inflation numbers are also going to be skewed by the price of gasoline, and the Fed can't control that. Oil did hit about a little over $123 a barrel this weekend, and this happened on the news that the European Union has decided to stop buying oil from Russia. I looked it up and I found that the highest price per barrel was $144 a barrel in 2008. There's that 2008 again. Every time I look for record numbers, I find them in 2008. I keep saying 2008 is around the corner. I hope you're prepared, because it's going to be a different world in 2 years. And look, the millennials are going to understand hard work for a change. All right, let's take a quick look at the futures and see where we are. Right now, the Dow is down 236 points. The S&P is down 19. And the NASDAQ is down 150. I got to tell you, it was doing much better earlier. All right, also, real quick, want to say hello to some people like Tommy and Mark and James and Lewis. Yeah, I know there was a little echo. We got it fixed. We got it worked out. All right, let's talk about Biden's alternate reality. Hey, I was researching articles for the show this morning, and I came across something in the Wall Street Journal that literally made me laugh. It was basically like a press release from brain-dead Biden called Joe Biden, My Plan for Fighting Inflation. By the way, just that alone, all he needs to do is quit and inflation would go down. But, it is what it is. I started to read it, and I laughed so hard that my coffee came out of my nose. So check this out. I almost want to read it word for word just to make you laugh, but I'm just going to pull out some of the Biden's alternate reality statements. Don't have anything breakable near you while I read this, because it starts off with something simple. He says, the global economy faces serious challenges. Inflation is elevated, exacerbated by Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. Energy markets are in turmoil. Supply chains that haven't fully healed are causing shortages and price hikes. All right, look, it's not a bad opening statement, but of course he blamed Putin for our problems. But all right, let's go. Let's move on. Here's where he really gets lost. In January 2021, when I took office, the recovery had stalled and COVID was out of control. And in less than 1 year and a half, my administration, economics, and vaccination plans helped achieve the most robust recovery in modern history. The job market is the strongest since post-World War II era, with 8.3 million people getting new jobs, the fastest decline in unemployment on record, and millions of Americans getting jobs with better pay. Hello, knucklehead. Reopening businesses you close is not creating new jobs. The creator of jobs was finally the people ignoring your mask and vaccine mandates. But let's move on. He also wrote, since I took office, families... I got to slow this down, because this is so... It's like, really? He also wrote, since I took office, families have increased their savings and have less debt. A recent Federal Reserve report found that a higher percentage of Americans reported feeling financially comfortable at the end of 2021 than any time since the survey began in 2013. Hey, Joe, it's 2022, and ask them how they feel now. The letter goes on, and he really is out of control in his alternate reality. He even insults Trump by saying, my predecessor demeaned the Fed and past presidents have sought to influence its decisions inappropriately during periods of elevated inflation. He's referring to the fact that Trump was recommending interest rates hikes during his presidency, something that would have prevented this inflation problem that we have. Biden goes on to say he agrees with everything that the Fed does to stop inflation. Well, why not? What does he care? His whole life is paid for. It's the poor people who can't afford anything like food, gas, or housing. He continues to brag about how he released the reserves to lower gas prices. Hey, idiot, have you seen gas prices? Oh, and maybe we will need those reserves when World War III breaks out because of your incompetence. But my favorite is the conclusion of the letter. The economic policy choices we made today will determine whether a sustained recovery that benefits all Americans is possible. I will work with anyone, Democrat, Republican, or Independent, willing to have an open and honest discussion that delivers real solutions for the American people. This is going to age very poorly. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be bad. Once again, I'm so happy that the really nice guy, Jimmy Carter, can now die, no longer being the worst president in his lifetime. Let's take a break here and learn how you can strive in the Biden economy by showing up this Thursday night at Investor Schooling.
Okay, so you thought about buying and selling real estate. You thought about investing in the stock market, but don't know where to start. Well, what if you could find a place to unlock strategies to master both real estate and the stock market, all without the headache? That place is Investor Schooling, hosted by Larry Steinhouse, an expert in real estate, financial literacy, and the ins and outs of the stock market. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate, and you will learn mastery of stock techniques such as options and covered calls. You will even get a chance to ask your one burning question to the stock option sultan, the master of picks and plays. Call today for free information and receive a complimentary pass to attend classes or register online at investorschooling.com. Don't delay. These passes are limited, so what are you waiting for? Call in today or visit investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back to Money Chat Now. I'm your host, Larry Steinhouse. And if you'd like more information on investor schooling, you can go to investorschooling.com or call 866-424-2829. That's 866-424-2829. Hey, I want to thank you all for listening on WWDB Radio 860 AM in Philadelphia. And if you're watching online, please hit that share button so you can help your friends learn how to make more money and learn how Biden is a complete fool. All right, anyway, hit that like button. Let me know you enjoy the show. You can also leave comments on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and I'll try to respond to them live. A couple other people have joined us. We got John and we got Rob, and it looks like Jeff. Thanks so much. All right, so far we've been talking about the futures update. Right now the Dow is down 236, the S&P is down 19, and the NASDAQ is down 150. Hey, we talked about Biden's alternate reality. I don't know, who is he talking to? Wow, he must be in dreamland. All right, coming up, we have Musk versus AOC, and we have student loan forgiveness, and of course, we have today's picks and plays. But did you guys hit that like button yet? Come on, hit that like button. Everybody online, just hit that like button, right? Hit that share button, and don't forget to leave comments on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. And of course, if you're listening on WWDB Radio, be sure and set a preset to this station and listen every day at 7:30. Also, look up Money Chat Now on Facebook when you get home, and let me know what you think of the show. Hey, before we get started, are you guys ready for a financial downturn or the recession that's expected? Well, if you want to survive through it, you should order my new book. Go to barnesandnoble.com, look up Money Hacks by Larry Steinhouse. You'll be able to pre-order it, and I promise you're going to learn something. There are chapters in this book about how to make more money and chapters how to pay less taxes. Think about that. Make more money, pay less taxes. Learn from me as I give you an overview of all my favorite lessons and hacks that I've learned about money. Order Money Hacks today wherever you can find books. And I also want to remind you that today is Interview Tuesday for our online audience. Each Tuesday we plan to bring you a great interview with interesting people and introduce you to their products, services, or just their good intentions. And by the way, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. That's thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest, and let us know why you want to be interviewed. Today we have Nurse Jack, who will bring you some amazing stories that happened to him during his life as a nurse. I'm telling you, you're gonna want to listen to this. It's really, really great. You'll enjoy the interview, I promise. All right, let's get on to the second half. Let's talk about Musk versus AOC. Here is more from the alternate reality pages of the news, or maybe this is the real reality. Check it out. So because Musk is buying Twitter, the left are up in arms about the fact that, well, free speech might actually be allowed on Twitter again. Can you imagine free speech? Imagine the things that people might say. They might actually say that the government is doing a bad job, and they might actually be allowed to say it. Anyway, we of course have the speech censorship people who want to show that Musk is a bad man now that he's turned Republican and is advocating for free speech. Wow. Well, a poll was put up on Twitter asking the other day, who do you trust more, politicians or billionaires? Well, the results of the poll were no surprise. It showed that 75.7% trust billionaires more than they trust politicians. However, to the uneducated left, they felt slighted by this. And in response to the poll, Occupy Democrats writer David Weissman made his own poll in an attempt to show lack of support for Musk. So he said, let's prove how phony the right's ridiculous polls are by doing one of our own. And he writes, who do you trust more? Ready? Who do you trust more, AOC or Musk? Unbelievable. So what do you think happened? Musk won the poll with 81.2% of the vote, showing that he is far more trusted than AOC, right? So there you go, right? So if he put up a survey, by the way, if he put up a survey, Who do you trust more, Putin or AOC? I would vote Putin. By the way, check out my Twitter feed, and I did put that poll up. Who do you trust more, Putin or AOC? So go to Twitter and look up me, look me up on Twitter, and check out my Twitter feed. And I asked that question, and I want you to answer the question: who do you trust more, Putin or AOC? Answer it on Twitter, please. All right, because it's hysterical. Anyway, when are these Democrats going to learn? They're all about destroying the country, and America is fed up. Oh, man. All right, real quick, a couple of people online to say hello to. John and Tommy, thanks so much. All right, here we go. Let's talk about student loan forgiveness. Hey, it's definitely a themed episode of Money Chat Now. The theme, of course, is how dumb can Democrats be, and how dumb do they think American people are? Anyway, do you remember one of Biden's campaign promises of canceling student debt? You know, when he promised to cancel $10,000 of student loan debt? So basically, he was going to pay for your books and maybe a few of the meals you had when you went to college that you're still paying for. Think about that. Well, he hasn't done it, of course, and this has been another campaign promise that's biting him in the behind. Well, now he's bringing it all up again. However, the people with the loans are complaining that it doesn't go far enough and they should cancel $50,000 worth of student loans to those who still owe. But not only isn't he going to forgive the $50,000 suggested by many Democrats, he is also now imposing income caps of $150,000 for individuals and $300,000 for married couples for the relief. So in other words, if you make over $150,000, you don't get any student loan forgiveness at all. His promise, by the way, was $10,000 for all borrowers. That's what he said in his campaign. Okay, now for my opinion, which, by the way, most of you won't find this popular, but I'm going to tell you, hear me out. He should cancel the $50,000 worth of debt to all borrowers who still owe, and he should give a tax credit of $10,000 to all those who paid off their student loans of over $50,000. And then he should make the guaranteed student loan program go away. The problem with colleges is the price of tuition is guaranteed to be paid by the garbage loans that the government backs and then makes it impossible for the average person to get ahead with these ridiculous payments. It turns out to be a tax for those who go to college. I used to say it was a tax for intelligence, but then I looked at the people graduating college and I realized that it's just a tax for people going to college. Stop the guaranteed loan program and you will find college tuition dropping quickly as they try to fill the school with those who have less money. College is not the answer to the question, how do I succeed financially in life? College is the answer to the question, how do I fail financially in life? That's the problem. All right, let's take a break here, and you're going to find out about, going to find out how for under $20, you can live a life of financial freedom. And when we come back, we're also going to have the picks and the plays, and don't forget that it's Interview Tuesday. We have a very entertaining interview with Nurse Jack. I'm telling you, you're going to love this. Coming up for those who are online, and if you're in your car, you can go to the Money Chat Now page on Facebook and listen there if you'd like. You're definitely going to enjoy this interview. I will see you guys in a minute. Hi, I'm Larry Steinhouse, and I've written a book called Money Hacks. The subtitle to this book is Because Everything You Think You Know About Money is Wrong, and I promise you there are things you think about money that are wrong. There are chapters in this book that I think you will find absolutely fascinating, and some of them are, what is money anyway? Can money buy happiness? I'll bet you don't know the answer to that question. The truth about credit scores, how you can actually use credit cards to rebuild your credit. I also have chapters on being your own bank, how to buy houses with an IRA, and how to invest with other people's money. There are so many other chapters. There are 22 total chapters in this book, and I promise you're going to learn how to make more money and pay less taxes when you buy this book. My name is Larry Steinhouse. The name of the book is Money Hacks. You can get this book wherever fine books are sold, and you can go to barnesandnoble.com right now and pre-order it. I hope that you will enjoy it. Welcome back to Money Chat Now. I'm your host, Larry Steinhouse. Hey, by the way, tomorrow night we're having the book launch, and I don't even know if there's any seats left. You can double check, but I'm not sure if there is any seats left. But you can go to moneyhacksbook.com, moneyhacksbook.com. You can register for $27. we're going to be feeding you. I'm going to be going over some of the money hacks in the book, and I'm going to be signing your book if you have one. And by the way, the jacket I'll be wearing at the event is going to match the book cover. So if you've already signed up for that, fantastic. If you've not, maybe there might be 1 or 2 seats. I'm not even sure. When you go to the website, you'll be able to tell. All right. So far, we've been discussing, of course, the futures update. Right now, the Dow is down 266, the S&P is down 19, and the Nasdaq is down 146. We talked about Biden's alternate reality. Where is this guy living anyway? Is he just dreaming? We talked about Musk versus AOC, and by the way, a couple of people online, I'm telling you, go to my Twitter feed and vote who you trust more, Putin versus AOC. I just find it hysterical. And by the way, something else that came up was Jeff online said to cancel. He said cancel the EIDL loans. Well, I have an EIDL loan, and I have no idea how to even pay the EIDL loan. So if you guys even can tell me how I'm supposed to pay it, I don't even know how to pay it. I haven't gotten a bill. So that's another joke. We talked about student loan forgiveness with Biden and how I think he should forgive $50,000. And you guys questioned me, but I hope you understood my explanation. Coming up, we have today's picks and plays. But did you guys hit that like button yet? Did you guys hit that share button? Let everyone know what great stock plays are coming by sharing this information. And of course, you could share it on your page or in groups. So what you do is you hit the share button. So listen up. Move the mouse over to the share button. Click the share button. And below the share button, it says share where, right? You can go to groups and share it in groups that you're members of that you think will benefit from it. There you go. You can also leave comments on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, of course. And if you're listening on WWDB Radio, set one of your presets to this channel and listen every day at 7:30 for all you need to know about the politics behind the stock market. All right, here we go. Let's talk about what's going to go on today. So we came off last week, the first week up in 8 weeks, fantastic. But don't be fooled with the Fed governor making a statement that they will probably be raising interest rates more than expected. Wall Street will now be spooked, which is probably what happened. Oil climbing is also an issue as it goes into the mid-120s. It's going to be a rough ride as the leader of what used to be the free world continues to destroy the economy, or what's left of it anyway. Anyway, the Dow futures were positive when I arrived at the studio this morning, but they're tanking. I mean, really, it's really bad right now. Well, it's not as bad as it can be, but it's pretty bad. If you remember, I warned you that the range of the Dow would be 31,000 to 33,000, and that means we are at the top of the range. So this is not unexpected to me. Look for possible bargains today. There's going to be a few coming up. Look for some possible bargains. And it might even be a put week for the SPY. I'm still holding on to my Carnival Cruise Lines. And by the way, did you guys see the video of the fire on board one of their ships? Yeah, one of their stacks. The fire, it was a pretty bad fire. It was pretty scary, actually, when you looked at it. They abandoned the ship and they put another ship for them to finish the cruise. But how weird is that? Anyway, when it happened, it didn't affect the stock. So to me, that's a good sign. I would also look for anything that moved up quickly last week to move down a little today. That might present a buying opportunity. It might be Apple or Facebook. Anything that moved up quickly, look for it to move down this week, and it might present a buying opportunity. I'd like to see Facebook below 190 again. Actually, below 180 would be fantastic. And for those who I teach, you know to make yourself a target price that you would buy the stock when it hits there. So set that price today and look for it to happen because it's likely that it's going to happen. All right, let's take a final look at the futures right now. And we can actually see that the Dow is down 292, so it's not getting any better. It's getting worse. The S&P is down 22, and of course, the Nasdaq is down 152. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a pretty day today. So just keep it as a little bit rough, right? All right. So Teresa actually asked me a question online. She asked me, is my event going to be online? It is not going to be online. It's going to be in person only. It's going to be at the Sheraton Hotel in Oxford Valley. So if you want to go to moneyhacksbook.com, you can sign up there. All right, let's talk about crypto. Bitcoin is actually moving up. This is a surprise given the market. It appears now it's lagging the market. A few months ago, it was leading the market. Let's see where it goes. I mean, the last I looked, Bitcoin was around 31,500, so we'll see where that goes. All right, gold and silver are also moving up slowly. I still don't get this one, but I'm just going to keep buying silver. I think silver is a good play. It really is. It just, I buy it. So for you guys who don't know, I believe that silver is a great place to be for many reasons. One is, first of all, at 22, it's more likely to double to 44. Then gold will double from 1850 to 3700. So that's why I like silver. The other thing I like about silver is it's milk money. Now, I know you find that you may not understand that reality, but let me explain. If I ever have a problem where the world economy crashes, precious metals will still be tradable. So I'll be able to trade silver for milk for my neighbor who has a cow. My neighbor doesn't have a cow right now, but assuming he has a cow. So all I can think of was Bart Simpson saying, "Don't have a cow." But anyway, so you can use your silver to buy things that you wouldn't be able to buy if the financial system drops out. So I like buying silver. I also believe it's going to double. I believe it'll go from 22 to 44 much quicker than gold. So that's why I like it. All right, let's talk about the Treasury bond. The Treasury bonds are moving up slowly, and they're about 2.8%. I'm expecting, by the way, like I said before, I'm expecting this to be in the threes. It's going to be the new normal. 3.5 to 4 will be the new normal, and of course we're going to head into mortgage rates being 6 or 7% as the new normal too. And remember, when the new normal becomes the new normal, people will be fine with it. Oil prices popped and they're now about 119, lower than this weekend. And I just have to say, let's go, Brandon! Unbelievable. This guy just makes me laugh. All right, don't forget, it's Interview Tuesday. Stay tuned for a very entertaining interview with Nurse Jack coming up in a few minutes. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. That's thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. Let us know why you want to be interviewed. And of course, if you want to survive the Biden economy, you need to order my new book called Money Hacks. All right, it's going to take you through the world of money and how the rich pay less taxes. And by the way, I use the same rules as they do, and I explain them in the book. So pre-order the book where fine books are sold. It'll be in stores next week. Of course, I also want to thank all the listeners on WWDB Radio 860 AM in Philadelphia. I want to thank you for your continued support. If you're enjoying the show, please reach out and let me know. And of course, if you guys are watching online, don't forget to stay online because that interview with Nurse Jack is coming up. I'm telling you, that interview with Nurse Jack, you're going to really like it. It's really some really good stuff on there. And once again, my name is Larry Steinhouse. I am the host of Money Chat Now. I am the CEO of Investor Schooling. And if you want to contact me directly, you can contact me by going to www.contactlarry.com. That's contactlarry.com. And there, if you want to make an appointment with me, you can make an appointment with me if you'd like, and we can even talk about anything that you have going on. Because, hey, I'm out here to help. Why not, right? All right. I want you guys to have an awesome day. Make it a profitable day. See you in a while. And welcome to Money Chat Now interview. In this portion of the show, I take the opportunity to interview interesting people and introduce you to their products, their services, or just their good intentions. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. That's thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest, and let us know why you want to be interviewed. All right, so today's special guest is interesting. He is a retired registered nurse and a registered psychotherapist. His mission is to tell the world what it is like to be a nurse and how hospitals really are. His experiences in both hospitals in the United States and in Canada. So I'd like to introduce my special guest today, who is incognito, and his name is Nurse Jack Houston. All right, hey Jack, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, man. Okay. So you're incognito because you want to protect your patients, and you were about to tell us a story. Go for it.
Well, yeah. So we had one patient. She was in a coma, and she'd come out of the coma, but she was basically she was not herself. She had so much brain damage. We didn't even know if she recognized people. You know, she was actually at the state where she would sing nursery rhymes.
Oh, that's
when
awesome.
she was nervous,
To a point.
To a point. Well, she would rock back and forth, and rocking is always a bad sign.
Okay.
You know, when people are nervous. So she would rock back and forth and sing nursery rhymes when she was upset. You know, it's a kind of a coping mechanism. But we didn't even know if she knew her husband. And,
Wow.
you know, so, I mean, a lot of brain damage had happened. So one day I was doing my rounds, and I went in the room to do something, and I opened the door, and I see her husband crawling off of her. You know, he was having sex with her, trying to pull his pants up and pull her diaper up at the same time. And he started yelling at me, we need our marital time, our marital duties, we need time
Right.
for that, etc. Well, I said quite a few choice words as I threw him in the hallway with his pants down. And, it was at first I just kind of stood there and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, this
I'm
isn't
sure.
something, you walk in the hospital, you don't, because the state she was in. And she was petrified. She was rocking back and forth singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. Now, that is not somebody that's competent, you know.
Yeah.
So
In a sense, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but in a sense, he raped his wife.
basically, yes. And so, I mean, I put a stop to it and, I threw him out and I called the doctor. I was a young nurse at the time. I think it was 21, maybe 22. And, I called the doctor, I called the supervisor. There was a tremendous amount of charting for something like that. And the doctor assured me, well, I will talk to him in the morning. He's obviously not coping with things, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, not to get into the whole story, but I was away for a few days on some holidays. I come back, and I had found that the nurses were still allowing it to go on every
Oh
night.
wow.
He had his quiet time and shut the door, and you weren't supposed to go in there when the door was shut, and they were allowing this to continue every night.
Huh.
And I looked into the chart. My notes were gone. They were just gone.
Oh, interesting.
So the hospital had taken them out and they put them in. We had what we call, back then everything was on paper. So we had what you call like an overflow chart. They had put them in there, but usually that's if a patient's been in for 2 or 3 months and the chart gets very thick, there's no room, right? This was not the case. They were hiding them.
Huh.
And they
So
had
this
even
was
done
the nurses doing it, or the doctor was doing it? Do you think?
well, I don't know who had done it. Management, I would think. There was a few people involved, I believe. So they'd even tested her to see if she was pregnant and hid that test as well.
How
Didn't
old
keep it
was
in the
how old
main
was this
chart.
couple?
Oh, probably 40,
Okay.
mid 40s,
Okay.
And, I know he might have had coping problems, but I just think he was a miserable, selfish man. You know what I mean? Like, I
I
mean, that's just,
understand.
I mean, I'm trying to watch my language here on,
That's
you
all right.
know, on,
We're not
but,
we're not on the radio. We do stuff on the radio, but this is not on the radio. But I understand what you mean. I appreciate it.
well, you know what I mean? So I didn't buy the fact that he wasn't coping. I mean, so all the other nurses that were there at the time, they were females, and most of them were single mothers. I couldn't figure out why they were allowing this to go on, but they were LVNs.
Hmm.
That's like a step down in Texas. That's other places. It's an RPN. Basically, it's you don't get paid much money. I think they
Okay.
were getting $8 or $9 an hour. I was getting 25. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Sure.
So it's hard to make a living there. It's very hard. And I think they were afraid of losing their jobs. They
Sure.
were fearful because there's no unions, in that place. And anyway, I found out it was still going on. So the next morning, I was on the night shift. When the doctor came in, I held an emergency meeting at my demand, basically. And I said, this is stopping now. It's not going to go on. And the head nurse proceeded to tell me it was none of my business. That they're married and it's their business and you need to keep out of it.
Yeah. To a point, she's
So,
right.
well, to a point, she's right. But
Correct.
I
Right.
said to her, I said, so if you're in a coma and you come out of it and you don't know who you are, I should let your husband crawl on top of you every night and scare the hell out of
Yeah.
you
I
because
agree with that. I
you know what I
absolutely agree
mean.
with that.
And
That's terrible.
well, it was terrible. Anyways, and mind you, I'm still a young kid. You think you're an adult at the time, but
Right.
you're 21. So you're trying to maneuver this whole career thing, adult law, legal stuff. So I said that to her, and she hit me. She was a big girl. She hit me pretty hard. I
Oh.
mean, I used to fight and stuff like that. And I don't know if I ever been hit by a man that hard. I was seeing stars. She just clocked me,
Wow.
and in front of everybody, you know. So I mean, that actually is a charge too. But anyway, they tried to bury all this. I said, okay, fine. I said I'll go to the Texas Rangers. I'll call Marvin Zindler. He was a big reporter at the time. Did a lot of undercover stories, exposed a lot of stuff. And funny, they had 3 doctors in within an hour to write a whole bunch of stuff how he wasn't allowed in the room. It wasn't allowed. She was
Yeah.
incompetent.
Yeah.
The whole
Makes sense.
bit.
Sure.
You know.
So
But anyway, that's
how did you keep your job after that?
well. My job was very difficult after that. It
No.
didn't
No. Well,
matter.
okay. So they were coming down and they were making it
They
difficult for you
were
to be there.
They were making it very difficult for me to be there. It
How
turns out
long
I
ago
didn't
was
stay
this?
there. This was early in my career. Like I say, I was 21,
Sure.
22, so that's probably 30 years ago.
Okay, so this is
You
before,
know,
like, you could actually stand up and be a whistleblower and say, "Hey, I got a problem here." You just needed to shut
yeah, it
up and do your
was.
thing.
Yeah, but I didn't do anything heroic or wonderful. I just did what any guy I grew up with would do. I mean, it's just the civil thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
It just
agree. Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it's just. So I mean, some people say, "Well, it was his wife. It wasn't really rape." I said, "Yeah, that's rape. I mean, I know the law very well, and that's rape.
So
She's
now
not
you're
competent.
retired, correct?
I am retired now. Yeah.
Okay, so this is so it's interesting. So when did you write this book, by the way? The book called Nurse Jack.
Well, I just at the start of the pandemic, I had retired, and I was sitting around, not a hell of a lot to do. You couldn't even go anywhere, so I was just started writing one day. I'd always thought, I worked with this one guy, and whenever we'd have a big incident, he would curse and swear. We should write a book about this place, and I always thought in the back of my head, you should write a book about this.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted something to do, but I also, I found it therapeutic, really, to write it. Like it was, some things needed to be said,
How many stories
and
did you put in a book that were similar to the one that you just told?
um, well, they're all different. I'd say two or three are kind of like this,
Hmm.
but I mean, different scenarios. I mean, there's stuff about that. There's drug and alcohol abuse, stories about nurses going in and giving themselves the injection and giving the patient saline instead of his pain meds, and
Wow, wait.
you
You
know,
got to go back to that one. That's interesting. So basically, you have drug addict nurses, which is really funny because
oh
I know
yeah,
that there was a show, and you're probably familiar with it, the show called Nurse Jackie.
yes,
Okay, so and
yes,
that's
she
where
was a
right, and that's where you titled your book, obviously hoping to get a piece of that, which is brilliant, actually. Yeah, I found that show was pretty interesting. But so you
I
actually had
wouldn't call it
nurses.
brilliant.
Yeah, so you actually had
It,
nurses who
it's,
were drug addicts that would give the
yeah,
patients, nothing basically saline, and then
oh yeah.
they would take the drug. That's really interesting. So how many of those patients, I'm curious, felt relief because their mind thought they were getting the real drug?
Well, that's really hard to measure, but I mean, some of them were in such bad shape. When you give a med, like a pain pill, doesn't or a needle, whatever, doesn't take everything away. So I mean, you're always in pain after surgery, so it's hard to really
Sure,
measure.
sure.
And she wouldn't do it to the 25-year-old that was competent and with it. It would be somebody elderly or older, not able to speak up for themselves and stuff like that,
Hmm.
right? But she come out of the room one day, and one of the nurse techs said, "Oh, Marjorie, you're bleeding," and she pointed at her hip, her white scrubs, and
Right.
a bit of blood was coming through. Well, she broke down right away. Actually, I think she needed to be
Oh
caught or
wow.
had enough.
Yeah. So
But
she was looking to get caught so she could be told to stop.
I think so. She had
Mm.
just. I mean, you can imagine working like that to the point where you're doing that at work. You've been having issues for a long time. You know what I
Wow.
mean? But we had another nurse. She she came in, and nurses can do what we call write doctor's orders or take verbal orders over the phone. So the
Okay.
doctor calls and says, "Hey, Jack, give this patient Demerol every 3 hours, whatever." So I write that and then write a slash and my name beside it. So the nurse really, we need to know a lot about what's going on, because if we screw it up, the patient's going to suffer. So
Oh yeah.
we can take those verbal orders from the doctor or over the phone or whatever. But so this one nurse came in, and she took some verbal orders from this doctor to give the patient Demerol every 3 hours as needed, PRN it's called, when you need it. And so he got it every 3 hours for 3 nights in a row, the 12-hour shifts she was on. And then for 2 nights when she wasn't there, he didn't get anything. Then she came back to work and he got it every 3 hours for the next 3 nights, and nothing in the daytime when he was doing therapy for this hip surgery.
Hmm.
So that just seemed a little funny. The head nurse, got looking into it and like, this is odd. And it turns out the verbal order she took from the doctor, who was the patient's doctor, wasn't even in the country because his mother had fallen ill and he had to
Oh
leave the
no.
country. So that's how she got caught,
Oh no. Wow.
But I think in the first 4 years I was in Texas, while I was working, there was 5 nurses arrested. Police come in, throw them down, kicking and squealing, take them
Wow.
away.
Wow, that must
But I mean,
that must have been that must have been. I can't even. I mean, can't even imagine what you're thinking at the time when that happens. Then not only do you have to go on with your shift, missing a nurse, but
yeah.
thinking about that nurse and what that nurse has done and what patients are affected by it.
Well, it's horrendous. It's you can't even measure it. It's just you don't know what all they've done.
Sure,
You know.
sure. So what is the
So
so tell me what is the what you told us about one patient. What is a patient that you remember the most that that you'll probably never forget or that you want people to know about?
oh, there's quite a few. There's one there's one lady that we had in the book. It's called "I Miss That SOB," and she told me right off the bat, I'm a real SOB, short of breath, because she had severe asthma. She was short of breath is a term in the hospital. We write
Okay.
SOB, short of breath. And she says, and she winks at me. She's about 65. She winks at me and says, I'm also a son of a bitch. And I said, okay. And she proceeded to tell me she's an old barfly. And anyway, as time went on, I looked after her for months, me and this other fellow that I worked with. And we were young then, so on our days off, we'd be out honky tonkin', they call it. That's the Western country and Western bars in Texas. And one of the barmaids come over and said, "Here, boys, this is from Ida." And she points across, and here's this old lady sitting on the bar. She's about 65, on the other side of the bar, and she holds her beer up. She had bought us a beer, you know. And so we went over, said hello, and that kind of stuff. And then she said, "Well, get on, boys. You're going to miss the girls. Get out there." So this is the kind of relationship you get with somebody when you work with them for so long. They're in for 2 or 3 months in the hospital. And,
Yeah, I'm sure.
you get to know them better than family. And anyway, a couple weeks later, we come into work, and one of the nurses giving a report. She goes, she proceeded to tell us that Ida had come in and she had passed, and they just wheeled her by on the stretcher,
Oh,
with the blanket over.
yeah.
As we were taking report, and she said she was asking for you boys. She was asking, "Where's my
Oh,
boys? Where's my boys?" And you know, it, she was an elderly lady. It seemed elderly at the time. As I get older, it doesn't seem so old now. But she had had asthma for years. She treated her body poorly, But we got to know her better than a lot of her own family. If they're in for a couple of years, you're looking after them 3 or 4 months out of the year for 12-hour shifts. I mean, you get to know them pretty well. And we had a hard job working that shift, the both of us young lads. We were teared up, and it's just you lose a patient. You're not supposed to get attached to a patient.
yeah.
Well, if you're human, you're going to. That's one case, but there's so many like
Yeah, I would
that,
also
and some of
imagine
them.
that. I'd also imagine that doctors would don't get as attached as nurses do because the nurses are spending more time with them, talking to them. You know, th- I mean, I even remember a couple times when I'm in the hospital. I'm just talking to the nurse because I can, because the doctor comes in and goes,
Yes,
this gets out, and the nurse I could actually talk to.
right. We're doing all the upfront stuff. They're zooming in and out like
Hmm.
Superman. Boom, they're
Yeah,
gone.
yeah,
And yeah, so you talk to us when you can, but unfortunately, the way it is a lot of the time, because I mean, money rules the world.
of course.
So the less nurses you have, the less the hospital has to pay. So they run you ragged and
Yeah.
short all the time.
And you went into nursing
So
at a time where to be a male nurse was sort of unheard of. It was like, what? What do you mean you're the nurse, right? You know?
yeah, well, that's the first chapter actually.
Oh, is it?
The
Okay.
first chapter. Now this is Texas 30 years ago, or a little more than that. I'm not gay. That's the name of the. That's the name
I'm
of
not
the
kidding.
chapter.
That's very funny.
So
Okay.
and like I could care less if somebody thought I was gay. I really don't
Right.
care.
Sure.
But
Sure.
when you go to work and you're asked, you can't even count how many times the first 6 weeks you're working. So you're gay? So you're gay then? I was like, no, I'm not gay. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were my nurse. Are you my doctor?
Yeah. Right.
Like, so if you're a nurse, you must be gay. If you're a doctor, you're not. And it was the women that were always asking, the older women, and it wasn't just that they thought you might be gay, because there really wasn't a lot of men in nursing at the time. But there was enough. So it was much worse than them mistaking whether you're gay or not. Not like that's a bad thing, but I mean, they also had in their mind that you were up to something
Nefarious.
evil or
Yeah, I
something
got you. Sure, sure.
mischievous.
Yeah, sure.
Because a lot of the time you'd have to put a catheter in somebody, and you can't just. People think, well, go get a female nurse. No, you can't do that because you're short-handed. You need to act now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, women have been working on men for years and touching their genitals and doing everything they needed to do, for treatments, and that's acceptable. But for men, they didn't want it at all. I mean, and then the doctor would come in after giving you a whole bunch of flack and no, I don't want you doing that, and you're trying to barter with them. Well, I have to do it if you want help. And the doctor would come in, their legs would fly open like they're on a hair trigger. They didn't care. He could be a real scumbag, but they wouldn't know. Anyway,
Yeah, sure, sure.
but after a while, once they got used to us men, they'd start asking for us.
That's
Like
interesting.
they actually liked, not just to do procedures. Just want us to
Are
look
you
after
are
them
you trying to
because-
say that men are better nurses than women?
No, I'm just saying that in this case, they started asking for us men because they get used to us, and I don't know, maybe we were the favorites or whatever, but anyway, so we had this one head nurse. We were talking about this because it was only like 6 or 8 weeks that me and this other fella just started this job, and she started laughing. She just come from break. She says, "You're not going to like this, boys." And we said, "What?" Well, another nurse in Houston at another hospital was caught as the patient was waking up after surgery and post-op. He was giving the patient fellatio. So
What?
I'm like, geez, we're dealing with enough. This
Yeah,
is
really.
just like Christ. So anyways, after a while they got used to us, and I had this one old lady. She'd had a hip surgery, and she'd do the normal thing. So are you gay? Have you always been gay? And like 3-4 nights in a row, I'm like, no, I'm not gay. I have a fiance. We're getting married. You try to sway them,
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
I get her halfway to the bathroom one night, and she did the whole thing again. I said, no, I'm not gay. And she just kind of looks at me and stares for a second, and then continues to walk. And then she looks up, great big grin on her face, reaches down and grabs me by the scrotum,
Oh no.
And she had this grin was so big,
Oh no.
like I couldn't let go of her. I'm trying to get her hand off me, but if I let go of her, she's going to fall, And she's grinning so much, her dentures fell right out and bounced off the floor. And I'm like, holy shit,
This
So
is
apparently,
great.
I got through to her.
That's hysterical.
So that's the first story, first story in the book. But,
That's
so
really
there are
funny.
some
That's
comedy
great.
type
Okay.
stories in it. Like a lot of them are horrific and they're sad, and little kids dying, people dying
Yeah,
of
sure.
cancer. I mean, those things are horrible, right? But I had to throw some funny ones in there. Or
No,
try
that's
to anyway,
fantastic. Sure. So what do you think was I don't know, really like the most difficult part about writing the book?
The most difficult part about writing it was some of the tragic stuff that I wrote about, where we had I remember one time we had a 3-year-old boy die on us, and I seen him one day running around in his little Superman underwear, and he's sick, he's in the hospital, he's still a kid though, eh? Like when he has energy, he's running around, pretending he's flying the whole bit. The next day I come in and they call a code, and I have to run up, I'm on the code team, I run up to the ICU, here's this little kid in there, 3 years old, having a heart attack, or 4 years old I guess he was, having a heart attack, because he was given the wrong meds.
Oh,
Or too
no.
much. So basically, he had the flu and diarrhea, so you lose a lot of fluids. Often we need to replace electrolytes, so potassium was ordered in the IV bag. So when you order potassium to be given to somebody, you have to measure how much. You have to do blood work and make sure they're not getting too much. Too much or too little potassium makes you have a heart attack.
Oh.
So basically, at 5:30, 6 in the morning, they called up a panic value to the ward, and what that means is it's way too high. Stop the potassium right now. So you should run down and pull that IV out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that never got conveyed to the nurse. About 8 or 9 hours later, the IV still running, new bag
Oh, no.
hung in the whole bit. So he goes into a heart attack,
Oh.
and we worked on him for about an hour and a half, and we finally had to call it.
Sure.
And
That's rough.
you're just waiting and waiting, and I got mad at the doctor. I mean, how do you not? Because he called it, which means we're quit.
Right.
We're just gonna quit, right?
Right, sure.
And it was very difficult. And I was just waiting, and we were watching the monitor, and I'm waiting like a TV show. You're hoping for that beep, and then I heard a beep, and I
Sure.
thought, and I'm looking, but I didn't see the needle move, and I'm like, what? Here it was the IV beeping in the background, and anyway, I was mad at him, but really, I mean, he had to call it. The kid was
Yeah.
gone. He
Yeah.
was
You were.
gone.
Yeah.
And
You were just being emotional. I get it. Sure.
yeah, it was really bad, and it affected me a long time after that. I remember, when I left the room, I couldn't believe this. Like when we were coding the kid, it's a horrible thing to lose a kid, but when you have to watch all this going on, the parents were looking through the window in the ICU at us the whole time. That's memories they don't need to see. And I kept saying, "Get them out of here, get them out of here." And they're, well, it's their kid, and I understand both sides of it. But so when I left the room, I mean, I wanted to get the hell out of there. I was the first to get out, when it was done. And the father met me at the door. I don't know how the hell he did this. And he put his hand out and he shook my hand and he said, "Thank you so much for working so hard on my little boy."
Oh.
And I just lost it. I
I
mean,
bet.
I had to stop writing that story 2 or 3 times and go back to it. But I went back to my unit, and I had to look up some blood values on, some stuff on the computer, and the computer froze. Computers are pretty new then. I stood up and I kicked the shit out of that computer,
I
like
bet.
literally kicked,
Wow.
and knocked the monitor flying. And I had lost it. It was just too hard to deal with. And I still had about 8 or 10 hours left on my shift,
I'm surprised they didn't send you
you
home.
know. Well, they don't care. There's nobody to replace you,
Yeah.
you know. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think they would just send you home for humanitarian, not necessarily because they were afraid you were going to do something. I got it. No, sure. So.
but,
So.
if you go home,
Yeah.
then the other nurses have way too many patients and they can't
Sure.
cope, right?
Yeah.
You're right, though. I mean, they should have.
So I
They really
listened
should
to
have.
this, and and then I, you have your book. By the way, how can somebody get your book?
Well, it's very easy to get. It's on most of the major platforms,
Okay.
Amazon all around the world, Barnes and Noble,
Mm-hmm.
Indigo, like Smashwords. It's everywhere, and you can order it from anywhere on the internet, any store. You can go in and order it. They have it in some stores. It's fairly new on the market, so it's hard to get out there. So it takes a while to get. So it's
Sure.
in all the
Sure.
stores. I'm hoping
Yeah, I've
it's
written a
getting
few
in
books.
more
I totally
stores.
get it.
Yeah, it takes a while,
Yeah.
and but yeah, you can get it pretty well anywhere. And the easiest way, my website has all those places listed, and it's just nursejack911.com. It's very easy to remember.
NurseJack911.com, right?
Yeah, you
NurseJack911.
go
Okay,
there.
great.
Yeah, it shows all the spots you can
Excellent.
get it, and
Okay. So I
but
started to think
there's
about it, I started listening to these stories, and it kind of makes me, like wonder if I even want to go to a hospital after hearing your stories.
well, it would, and I should really expand on that a bit. Like these stories sound horrific, and they are,
Right.
but it's like any job, I would imagine. Like I would think if you're a police officer, you're going to work with some duds. If you're a school teacher, there's some duds that really shouldn't be there. I think every job has its useless people that are horrible. A small percentage, and I think nursing is the same. I would say most of the nurses I've worked with are wonderful. I
Hmm.
mean, wonderful people. And some of them I strive to be like, and I know I'm never going to be like them. You know what I mean? Because they're just
Right.
so
Sure.
good, angelic. So so there it is. So do you go to the hospital and risk getting one of them bad ones or good, whatever? I mean, that's just the way it goes in anything in life, right? So all I tell people is, when you think something is wrong with your care or your child's care, your husband's, whatever, if something doesn't seem right to you in your gut, speak up. A lot of people think, well, the nurse said. I've had so many people, well, the nurse told me. That doesn't mean that we're God and we're perfect.
Oh
So,
yeah.
speak up and get edified. Like if your child gets diabetes, you better learn about what diabetes really
Hmm.
is and all the ins and outs of it, so that you can advocate for your loved one. You know what I mean? And speak up, because sometimes I've had patients ask me questions and they were afraid to, and when they did, I was like, holy shit. Thank you for saying that, because I was going to make a mistake or something.
Mm.
I had something, misinformation or whatever, and that happens. So speak up. The worst thing you can do is think, well, the doctor said or
Yeah.
the nurse
Sure.
said, and
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
so dangerous. dangerous.
I
So,
totally agree.
don't be afraid to go to the hospitals, but don't just drop your kid off and leave them there and pick them up the next day, or you know what I mean, stuff
Yeah.
like that. If you need to stay overnight, you demand that you're staying overnight with them. You know what I mean?
All right, Jack. So real quick. So we have just about a minute or two left. So they can get Nurse Jack at nursejack911.com, or they can go to Amazon or any stores that they want. Of course, do you want people to be able to get a hold of you besides your website, or is there any other contact information, or is that enough?
Well, the website's got a spot where you can email me
Okay, great.
or leave messages. I'd love to hear feedback,
Okay.
and anybody that does read the book,
Yeah.
you can do a book review on it. That's always helpful.
That's
Like
sure.
Goodreads.com is the spot you can do that,
Okay.
or Amazon.
All right, and I
But,
totally appreciate you being here with us. And hold on a couple of minutes, and I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody, and I'm going to say goodbye to you in a minute. All right, so I want to
Okay.
thank you all for watching the show. My name is Larry Steinhouse. I'm the host of Money Chat Now. Money Chat Now is live every morning at 7:30 a.m., and you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, you can go to thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest, thelarrysteinhouseshow.com/guest. Let us know why you want to be interviewed, and we'll see what we can do. Hey, we hope you enjoyed today's interview with Nurse Jack, and we hope you will tune in again. Hey, make it a profitable day.